So the first step that we would do is like release the book, his latest book, and then we can get into a dialogue. What would you say, like when you take up the Ramayana, is your primary source the Valmiki Ramayana, or you kind of touch upon many diverse sources and then bring it into your writing?
So, my primary source of the Ramayana is the Valmiki Ramayana. But in addition to the Valmiki Ramayana, I also added elements from Kamba Ramayana, which is a South Indian Tamil version of Ramayana. That means analogies and poetic expressions from Kamba Ramayana, from Tulsidas Ramayana, Ramcharitamanas, as well as commentaries of Acharyas, great teachers of the past that have commented on the Ramayana, like Govindaraj and so many others. In addition to that, I also bring in folk tales that are in philosophical alignment with the original author, Valmiki. So this book is like a combination of all that, told in a very modern way in terms of the writing style and in terms of the speed at which the story is written. In addition to all that, there are life lessons that make the book more practical and life applicable. That's the combination of the things that are there in this book.
So would you say that you're just retelling, or you're recreating, or reinterpreting the text?
I would say I'm making the text more accessible to a common man. So basically, the Ramayana doesn't need to be retold or rewritten. It is already there, written by Valmiki. But with time, the ability to connect with the original is kind of loses its taste. Like for example, Tulsidas, when he wrote the Ramayana, he didn't do anything different from what Valmiki did, but he made it for a context that a regular layman at that time, in that age, reading that particular language, the Avadha Bhasha, can understand. So now, many years later, after Tulsidas, now the same Ramayana has become irrelevant, even Tulsidas' Ramayana, because we don't understand that language, we don't understand that mindset, we don't understand that mood and that cultural context. So we need to present the Ramayana in today's cultural context, in today's mindset, in today's language, and in today's style, and that is what I'm trying to do.
So this sounds very much like, the different projects which are happening all over the world, for that matter. We have the Hogarth's Shakespeare project, where all his plays are being adapted and written by contemporary writers. Yes, like we have Janet Winterson and Joe Nesco, and also Greek and Latin mythology, which is being rewritten and reinterpreted. Yes, and also like in India, there are many books being written where the point of view has changed, the perspective is changing, because all those characters in these epics who did not have voices, who were marginal in a way, and many were women for that matter. So there are books being written from Sita's point of view, from Draupadi's point of view. We have a writer from Singapore who's written the Aryavarta Chronicles, yes, and so on. So in your books, are you kind of giving primacy to a particular voice or a set of voices, or it remains the same, the way the story has come to us through Ramlilas and the overall essence of the story? Does it remain the same?
So what I'm trying to do is, the very fact that I'm writing 6 books indicates that I'm going very much in detail on the Ramayana. So I could have easily written one book where the entire Ramayana comes in picture. But the reason I'm going in so much detail, each book represents one Kanda of the Ramayana. So the first book, Roar with Courage, represents the Bal Kanda of the Ramayana. Conquer Change represents the Ayodhya Kanda of the Ramayana. So every book is one Kanda of the Ramayana. And the reason I'm going into so much depth is because I'm trying to focus on every character in the scripture, whether it is Tara or Vali or Mandodari or Shurpanaka or Vishwamitra for that matter. So I'm looking at each of the character, their mindsets, the way they think, what they're experiencing. So I'm going in very much into details. And in fact, at the back of every book, you will find, so the front cover has a title which kind of signifies what the book is themed around. But the back cover has a photo of one of the personalities in the Ramayana. So the first book of this Game of Life series has Vishwamitra on the back cover. You know this. So Vishwamitra is the hero of this book, of book 1 of the Ramayana. So now, if you see, Vishwamitra's character is not so much highlighted on a regular basis, but I'm trying to highlight Vishwamitra's character in this book. The second book is Ayodhya Kand, which has on the back cover the photo of Bharat. So the hero of this book is Bharat. So the focus is heavily on Bharat. Of course, in this book you also find other characters, other personalities also focused. But what I'm trying to do is that I'm trying to keep the focus on many other personalities along with Ram and Sita, who are the main heroes of the Ramayana. But along with that, I'm trying to focus on the smaller characters which really bring out the beauty of the epic.
But what about the women?
Yeah. So as I said, Tara is one of the highlights of book 4 of the Ramayana, fourth book that I'm just releasing. There's a strong focus on the character and personality of Tara. You'll find Urmila's personality highlighted in the second book of the Ramayana. Generally, Urmila's perspective is not so much seen. So you'll find Urmila's viewpoint over there. So there are many ways to see it. One way to see it is that there are many people who overly focus on one character when there is not much information on that character. Now, if you try to overly focus on a character where there is no information at all by the original author, you're going to create information of your own, which is not right. So how can I write about somebody when I don't know that person at all? So if I can write an entire book on Urmila, whereas the original author Valmiki has written certain amount of information only about Urmila, where did you get the information from? You can't imagine. It's not right to imagine what Urmila is thinking and what Urmila is doing. So whatever is there in the original text and whatever is there in the Puranas and whatever is there in the other sections of our Vedic scriptures, I bring that all up in the books. But I don't create information of my own.
But like that sets off another question. Like there's this book by Margaret Atwood, where she has given voice to Panoply, okay, the wife of Odysseus, who went to fight a war in Troy, and then he comes back after. So she just did not have a voice in Homer's Odyssey. Why? Because the whole cultural living and how the position that women enjoyed. So she was like whatever happened to her or she was indicted with, somebody else was telling her story. So then the writer has to bring in an amount of imagination, thinking about what she would have felt or what was she doing in this role and what happened to her. So we can't just, we can't just say that imagination will not become a part of such a recreation or reinterpretation of the story.
I'm happy if people are imagining about it, but I would not imagine basically. So because the way I look at these scriptures is, I don't look at them as mythology, as most people look at them as. According to me, Ramayana and Mahabharata falls under the category of what is known as Itihas. There are only two books that are actually called Itihas in the Vedic culture. One is Ramayana and the other is Mahabharata. The word Itihas means history. To translate the word Itihas into English, it means history. And like suppose there is a historical character or a historical personality like Mahatma Gandhi or Subhash Chandra Bose or some historical personality. Now, whatever information is there about the historical personality in history books is what people have noted about them and kept. But if there is some information that is not available in the history books, how will you know about it? And is it right for me to imagine what they would have been thinking, or what they would have been doing, or what they would have been going through?
But then those characters will never get a voice.
So, yes, they may not get the right voice, or they may not get the quantity of the voice, but at least they don't get misinterpreted. Like say, suppose I give a voice to one particular character, and that voice that I'm giving is my voice. It's not that character's voice, necessarily. It may be very close to the character's voice, but you can never say that it is the character's voice. So when I talk about historical figures, I wouldn't want to have the audacity to put a voice to somebody whom I don't understand completely.
So what you're saying is that you're more factual, more going with what is there in the primary sources, and not making it fictionalized, yes, and imagining from any kind of a character's point of view, or even an event, or whatever the circumstances. All right. So for you, I would we can say that if we say when you say history, so you are not really classifying these texts as religion, as books to be worshipped or followed in that way. They're just history and literal texts for you.
So the way I see it is, there are some history books that actually are worshipable. There are certain books in the history of mankind that have stood the test of time in terms of principles. Like so what the Mahabharata Ramayana actually gives is principles of life that are eternal. So that means if some text has stood the test of time for thousands of years and it's still relevant today without any change happening to it, I would say that book is something that is worth worshipping with it, because it's such a powerful contribution to society. So from that point of view, I would definitely consider it to be a good book. But the way I am writing the scripture, writing all these epics, the Ramayana specifically at this point, is trying to show how, keeping aside the religious context, keeping aside the spiritual context, which is very much visible, but keeping aside that context, there's much more in these books that can be relevant to a modern man, to a common man in life. That's the way I'm trying to focus on.
So then may I take you further and say, like, when we say absolute truth, relative truth, or like when we say there are many truths, each human being has his own truth. So how would you classify absolute truth, relative, or many truths? So
philosophy has many perspectives or many angles to it. Now, there is something known as philosophical speculation and there is something known as mental speculation. There are two types of speculation that are mentioned. So, philosophical speculation means that I don't doubt the conclusion. The conclusion or the absolute truth is clear. But to understand that, I have many ways to see it, many angles to see it, and I try to see it through many angles. That is called philosophical speculation, which is very much encouraged in the Vedic texts. But there is something known as mental speculation. Mental speculation means I don't accept the conclusion itself. I challenge the conclusion itself in many ways. That is something that is not so much encouraged in the Vedic texts. So whatever truth is there, the element of truth, I am allowed to study that truth from many angles. And that kind of study is what leads to a greater understanding of the text. So what I am trying to do in these books is philosophical speculation, which means I am seeing a story. The story of the Ramayana is very clearly there, but I am seeing it from many angles. And when I see it from many angles, the story brings in, it kind of opens up much more, and it presents much more greater truths to a human being than what we can normally see.
Yeah, I would agree with you, because like when we say that we're in pursuit of a particular truth or a particular ideology, or even when we investigate a particular matter or an event, it's always good to read texts by different writers who've written from different angles. And also writers who've written against it, for it, and so on, yes. And then you kind of distill truth for yourself after all your readings. So in a way, that is what you are saying. So let me take you to the symbolism in this kind of literature. It is, these kind of texts are very, very symbolic. Yes, we have to read between the lines, and there are signs and motifs and so on. So would you throw light on, maybe a couple of, symbolic things?
Thank you for that question. So I'm just going to share with you all some thoughts on the symbolism that is there in the Ramayana. So practically every aspect of the Ramayana can be seen in a symbolic way. I'll share with you all a few. First is the names in the Ramayana. The names of the different personalities in the Ramayana have symbolic understandings also. Like for example, Ramayana has a wide range of personalities involved. One is Ram himself. The word Rama means, just by uttering the word in Ram, it gives you great pleasure. So Ram technically means the one who gives great pleasure to you. The word Ravan is exactly the opposite. The word Ravana means the one who makes others cry. These are the two extremes of the Ramayana. The word Dasharatha in the Ramayana has symbolic meaning. Dasharatha means, Dash means 10, and Ratha means chariot. That is one meaning of, that means this person, Dasharath, could drive his chariot in 10 directions. That is one meaning of the word Dasharath. But another deeper meaning of the word Dasharath is the one whose 10 senses are under his control. The body is also compared to a chariot. And the 10 senses are compared to, the 10 wheels or the 10 horses, whatever, in different interpretations. But the word Dasharatha means the one whose 10 senses are under his control. So somebody whose 10 senses are under, there are 5 working senses and the 5 knowledge acquiring senses basically. So somebody whose 10 senses are under control, such a person lives in a city known as Ayodhya. The word Ayodhya comes from the word Yuddha. Yuddha means fight. And Ayuddha means the place where there is no fight. So somebody whose 10 senses are under his control, such a person lives in a place where there is peace. So that means such a person's mind is peaceful. And for somebody whose 10 senses are under control and whose mind is peaceful, in such a person's life, Ram is born. That means God can be born. So spirituality is the result of first having your 10 senses under control and with a peaceful mind when you practice, then you give birth to God. The word Ravan, so Ravan has another name. His name is Dashamukha. Dashamukha means the one who has 10 heads. That is one way of seeing it. Another meaning of the word Dashamukha means the one whose 10 senses are out of control. External, Dasharatha is whose senses are under control, and Dashamukha is the one whose senses are out of control. Such a person lives in Lanka. Lanka is a place of hankering. A place where you cannot be at peace. Because you're constantly hankering for more and more and more. And such a place gets destroyed eventually. So now if you see it from symbolical point of view, there is such depth in it. The word Vali, so Vali as a person, if you study, he had this boon that whenever his enemy comes in front of him, he would get half the strength of the enemy. Right? So symbolically Vali represents temptations that come in life. Suppose there is a diabetic patient, and naturally a diabetic patient cannot eat sugars, cannot eat sweets. But if you bring a sweet in front of a diabetic patient, what happens to that person? Like you bring a gulab jamun in front of a diabetic person, what happens to that person? So his ability to say no decreases by half, and the gulab jamun becomes double strong. That is Vali. So now symbolically, if you see, practically every aspect of the Ramayana has some deeper connection to our personal lives. So Ramayana has 3 cities: the city of Ayodhya, the city of Kishkinda, and the city of Lanka. These are the 3 main cities in the Ramayana. And these 3 cities represent 3 different mindsets. The city of Ayodhya represents a mindset of very high character, very high value systems, integrity. There is a lot of compassion, gratitude, selflessness, the concept of sacrifice, very much there. The city of Lanka represents the mindset of lack of gratitude, absolutely. When Ravan worshipped Lord Shiva and he pleased Lord Shiva, now Shiva is a worshipable object for Ravan. And when Shiva appears in front of Ravan and asks for anything, what does Ravan ask for? Ravan says, I want your wife, Parvati. Can you imagine? This is the kind of lack of gratitude that is there in Lanka. This is the mindset of the Lanka Vasis. So the mindset over there is eat, drink, be merry. Whatever is others' property is my property. The whole mindset is of acquisition, of just grabbing. And there is no question of integrity, there is no question of ethics, basically. Kishkinda is a very interesting city. If you say physically also, Ayodhya is up in the north, Lanka is way down south, Kishkinda is between. It's not just physically in between, but it's also symbolically in between. Because the city of Kishkinda represents a mindset which is between that of Ayodhya and Lanka. The mindset of people of Kishkinda is three types. There are three types of monkeys in Kishkinda. There is monkeys like Hanumanji, whose mindset is almost like Ayodhya Vasis only. There are monkeys like Vali, whose mindset is almost like Lanka Vasis only. If you study Vali's character and personality in Ramayana, very strongly more associating with Ravan's mindset, basically. And there is a third type of monkey in Kishkinda who is Sugriv. Sugriv, his mindset changes according to the person whom he is connected with. If he is in association with Hanumanji, he behaves like Ayodhya Vasis. If he is in association with Vali, he behaves like Lanka Vasis. So people like Sugriv in Kishkinda are called as Vanara. The word Vanara is a question. The word Vanara comes from two words. Nara means human and Vanara means as a question. Are you human? So every monkey in Kishkinda has to ask himself the same question. Are you human? That means if you behave like Ayodhya Vasis, then you are human. And if you behave like Lanka Vasis, then you are a monkey. So now if you study the whole construct of the Ramayana from this point of view, it's very symbolic.
I think we have to keep asking ourselves, are we humans? Because most of the time we behave like animals, killing each other, warring, hating each other, all those urges that we have. So I think...
So in one sense, you see that Charles Darwin, when he says human being evolved from monkeys,
yes,
he's right.
Yeah,
in the sense, so the context is, in a symbolic way, if you see, Kishkinda represents the mindset in between. So we are right now tending towards Lanka, but we should eventually be tending towards Ayodhya. That's what Ramayana represents, basically.
Yeah. Right now we are all operating from an animal level, more so. That's why the world is the way it is.
The way the Ramayana is organized, in Ayodhya, there is fight between two brothers. Ram and Bharat are fighting constantly. But the fight is what? It's not about rights, it's about responsibilities. Ram is saying, I have to follow my father's instructions and you become the king. Bharat is saying, no, you deserve to become the king. I will go to the forest. So there's a fight between two brothers, but the fight is not between right and wrong. The fight is between right and more right. Which right is more right? And in Lanka, the fight is not between right and wrong. It is about which wrong is more wrong. And in Kishkinda in between, the fight is between right and wrong. Sugriv is trying to tell Vali, you're wrong, I am right. Vali is telling Sugriv, you're wrong, I am right. And that's what we identify with more.
And so I think like when he's writing these books, he's taking his readers, more towards that path of thinking, of awareness, of being in yourself, of balancing out your energies by taking lessons from the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, which will take you more towards that more illumined and more lighted place. So I think we need to come to your, when he writes books, at the bottom of every other page, he's got these wisdom capsules, so-called, right? And which he calls life lessons. So we will come to that, but just before that, there's one question I'd like to ask, one more, and then we can come to those wisdom capsules. The texts are philosophical, psychological, and also they have a very strong cultural base. Yes. So when you are rewriting, what are you going with more? What is your inclination?
When I'm writing the storyline, I focus a lot on the cultural context, poetic expressions, because there is so much poetry in the Ramayana. There are some amazing analogies that kind of really take you to another level only. There's description of nature, there's description of people. There are so many poetic aspects of it, which also I focus on. But more than that, there is a lot of cultural aspects in terms of sensitivities, in terms of how people behave, how people speak. There is a lot of cultural context in it. In addition to that, I also focus on human psychology, because these books are, I would say, the primary source of psychology in human history. And there was a point of time where most people's education was Ramayana and Mahabharata. Like Shivaji Maharaj, such a powerful personality. His entire education was based on Ramayana and Mahabharata only. His mother Jijabai, that's all she taught him. And you can imagine, whatever he knew about ruling a country, ruling a whole kingdom was based on these books. So everyone says that these books are solutions to all problems of life, but nobody showed us how. So what I'm trying to do through these life lessons is trying to show people that yes, practically every aspect of our life has a relevant solution or a suggestion based on the Ramayana.
And also the Ramayana and the Mahabharata give you a lot of grey characters, and characters who are driven by greed, jealousy, envy, hatred, and so on. And so I think those grey characters are most important.
Absolutely, that's what we connect to.
Yes. So now let's come to these little capsules that he's got for us in every book of his. And would you like to talk about the smile first before we go on? Because there's one reader of his, who sat with him and she was talking to him, and she said she used that particular part in some writing that she had done, and she made him go through the whole thing again. So I think we can begin with that. Yeah.
So there's one life lesson that I wrote. This is about smiles, and this just is one of the episodes in the. I'm not going to story of why I wrote it, but it is about somebody smiling, and I wrote this. I'll just read it out. Though the curve of the smile is always the same, the curve of the emotions behind the smile is always different. When a happy man smiles, the curve of emotions has an exponential growth. When a sad man smiles, the curve of emotions has a phenomenal slack. When a sarcastic man smiles, the curve of emotions has a zigzag effect. When a confused man smiles, the curve of emotions is a question mark. When an embarrassed man smiles, the curve of emotions stoops down. When an anxious man smiles, the curve of emotions becomes unstable. When a nervous man smiles, the curve of emotions becomes stiff.
So which one would you like to go with? We'll kind of randomly open pages, and he'll read and I'll read. So I'm going first because I've got my page open. Alright. So it's the soul's greatest nightmares stand exposed in the theatre of one's open eyes. So it's like we say the eyes reflect the soul. And I think most of you would agree with it, because even when artists, they paint portraits or we paint faces, it's the eyes that they paint the most effectively, because the whole face comes alive with those eyes. Everything is harbored and concentrated there. Yeah, sure.
When life is peaceful, one goes to buy challenges. When life offers challenges, one goes in search of peace. Between looking for challenges and running away from them lies the art of facing them with courage.
Hidden behind boastful words that display our greatness are often our weaknesses and meanness. So when we admire a person in a party because he is very witty and he makes you laugh and he's got such a wonderful gift of gab, we really don't know where we are going with that person at the end of the party.
Just
okay, I thought you were taking time.
Oh.
Alright. No, it's okay.
Just as a reindeer's eyes are golden in summer and turn blue in winter, many leaders adopt warm, casual policies privately for themselves and cold, strict policies publicly for their followers.